Alright, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to ETSKI 2, and this is an episode of, well, I guess this is a developer interview episode, and I'm with teamINOV. Is that how you, is that the name of your team?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
It stands for innovation, I guess.
Oh, okay. I get it, so INOV is innovation. That's pretty cool. So, your team consists mainly of you two. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell what your roles in the game were?
Well,
No problem.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first. Yeah, well, I'm Tahir, pretty much. I'm the, designer, programmer, level designer. I'm pretty much most
Don't
hats
be
in that
everything.
sense.
Yeah, I just got my first kill.
Pretty much any complaint that you have that's not related to heart would go towards me.
Okay, so you're basically the programmer.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would mean
And,
that Michael is the artist?
Yep, I'm the other guy. My name is Michael, and I'm pretty much the artist. But since we're just two guys, we're doing a lot of everything usually. Basically, just sitting here in Skype and designing, thinking of levels, of concepts, of ideas, even programming together. Basically, helping each other out, trying to get this where we want it.
Okay, cool. Alright, before we talk more about your roles, let's talk about the actual game itself. So the first question I want to ask you is, why is it called Roots?
Alright, I think I'll take that one since I basically what happened was we are first-person shooter players pretty much.
Okay.
And it's a fact that most first-person shooters have forgotten pretty much the root of what made them fun in the first place, which is focusing on pure gameplay and not adding a lot of, I tend to call them fake rewards, stuff like kill streaks and class systems and stuff like that, which are fun elements, but a lot of developers tend to use them as an excuse to a more mediocre game in the background, basically. So if you were to remove those elements from the game, then you'd be bored. So what we tried to do with this was make a game that focused mainly on, say, nothing but the pure fun. So we do have a lot of elements like abilities and so on, but if you were to rip those out and just leave the shooting and the movement, you would still need to have the basic elements as fun as possible. So the basics come first. So we're trying to take it back to the root of what made a game fun.
Okay.
And that's pretty much, I took the name with that, pretty much.
Okay. So you're just like stripping it back down to the beginning and really finding what's fun then.
Exactly. So if you're emptying your assault rifle in a guy and it's not fun, then we did something wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so far I'm having fun. And this is only a game of 3 people.
Yeah,
Two.
when it's usually more people, it's just a massacre, chaotic.
Oh yeah?
What? Jesus.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So, did that influence your decision to make it a top-down shooter?
Did it? Not necessarily, because I am aware that people tend to think a lot of people that do top-down shooters, or a lot of indies that do top-down shooters, do it because it's less work and, reduced assets and so on. But not necessarily. I think we realized that we could add a lot of elements to a top-down shooter that people haven't tried before. So if you notice, we have sprinting by default. You can melee, you can jump, you can aim up on buildings and so on.
Oh, what's the melee button?
It should be, what, by default, Q, I think?
Yeah, Q.
And shift would allow you to sprint. Then you have your abilities mapped to button 2, I think.
Yeah.
I said default keys are kinda messed up at the moment. We need to make them more mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use.
Not too
I
bad.
don't use.
Alright.
Alright, so let's see, what is my next question? So what real differences did you find,
Killing
like,
spree.
making a top-down shooter as opposed to going with a traditional first-person shooter? Like, have there been advantages towards gameplay or just game mechanics, or like what do you think would have been different about this project if you had decided to make it a first-person shooter?
It would be a lot more work. I must say it was one of our calculations, because when you're in a two-man team, you can't really just do the game of your dreams right off the bat, because you'll just never finish it, or I don't know, probably take you a million years. So it's also part of thinking realistically, and also we kind of wanted maybe to, I don't know, aim at the more casual kind of audience.
Yeah.
And not just the hardcore
Alright.
FPS players.
Let me add a bit to this. What made this different from, say, a top-down a third-person or first-person shooter with the same elements? First of all, it's awareness. You have a full view of anyone that comes around you, pretty much. You're not really going to get those scenarios where you get shot in the back by some dude camping in a corner because you understand? So
Yeah.
there are a few advantages and a few disadvantages. We're still tweaking a lot of stuff. But I don't know, quite frankly, let's see. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question correctly though.
It changes up stealth for sure. I've noticed that like it seems like instead of sneaking up behind people, you have the invisibility ability.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't
So
really sneak behind anyone in this game.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah,
like
so pretty much.
it really changes up your style of movement and your plan of approach, I guess.
It does, obviously. But I think it does, it's because it's just a top-down shooter, not necessarily, it's not necessarily a unique point to our game. It's a unique point to the genre in general.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see. I have a list of questions over here on my second monitor. So let's talk about the graphics and the artwork. And is there anything unique to say about that? It was all done by Michael, right?
Yeah, most of it. Basically, the models, some stuff we worked on together, and Tyre, for instance, made some of the level areas by using just blocks in the Unity engine. Some blocks plugin we're using, which is very convenient.
Okay.
But yeah, most of the artwork, the character, the props, and all of that stuff, and the animations were made by me. Even though the thing is about it that we actually got some feedback on the graphics that saying it's sometimes random, because we don't really work with per se a very consistent concept or background for this. So we always have to iterate around, because we don't really have a concept artist or a lot of time to go around making very decent and detailed concepts. So we end up iterating on stuff on the fly right when we make them.
Okay.
I guess that's something that I could say about the artwork pipeline.
That's just even more innovation.
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess teamINOV was really a good name for you guys then. It sounds like innovation is like one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and we haven't even, I mean, at face value, this game might seem really simple. Like, it might just look like a typical top-down shooter with, you know, the few stuff that we mentioned, but there's a lot of stuff layered under it that I think it would be a really long video if we tried to get into it. For example,
I just got a sticky
I
grenade
can give
on
you
me.
something. Well, that's one element, but for example, in a scenario where you got sticky, if you were using the armor ability, you could activate that and it would actually save yourself from dying pretty much.
Okay.
Or if you were using the impulse ability, you could have actually repelled the sticky back at him and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
So there's a lot of hidden stuff beneath the surface.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like a
Yeah, we have we
go on.
have a lot of gameplay revolving around physics.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like for all of the projectiles, including bullets, from bullets to rockets to grenades to players themselves, they're all physics objects. What does it mean? It means that, for instance, a grenade can just hit you in the face and kill you without necessarily detonating. What else? Someone can shoot a rocket at me and I can repel it with my impulse and send it somewhere else and hit someone else or hit another place. Same with grenades and everything else. I don't know. Theoretically, I think it's even possible to hit someone with, I don't know, whatever is moving around, whatever is dynamic in the level. You can interact with it, and it will work and affect other players.
Wow. So like you mean you can like apply damage based on like the force from a rigid body?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that means like if you wanted to make like a weapon in this game that was like a rock, that would legitimately work. You just throw.
Yeah.
Rigid
Actually, just today we shot a video where someone throws a grenade at someone else, and that guy impulses that grenade at another guy, and that grenade kills him from the impact.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it basically helps us create unique scenarios in gameplay that you would not expect, and it would surprise you. And you know, you get those moments that you say, "Wow, that was epic."
Wow, yeah, that's
You see,
really
the
cool.
thing is, no matter what, as far as the way that I see it, no matter what you do, I was saying that trying to make the pure game.
So sorry about the interruption. That was because of Fraps. So our video is back up and running. So let's go back to what Tahir was talking about. I think you were talking about what was it? Like the difference between like just skill shots and then like really mixing up the gameplay and creating new scenarios.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was saying a game like Counter-Strike, if you were to set the kills to like 500 kills, no, don't get me wrong, that's a really fun game, right? And you will always see those skillful moments where you're like, oh my god, because someone does something impressive or whatever, right? But it doesn't matter. There will always be this point where you're getting bored if you're playing to like 200 kills or something. So what we did was we tried to we tried to make our system as dynamic as possible. Ah, crap.
Oh wait,
I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh, what is this here?
Okay, this is the team eradication game mode. Basically, what happens is you guys are my node pretty much, and I'm supposed to defuse it. Right. Basically, what the game mode does is you arm your opposing team's objective, right? And then when it gets destroyed, they won't respawn anymore. And once you kill them again, you win the game.
Okay. So once you actually do like activates the enemy's node, and they can't respawn anymore, do they have any chance of still winning, or is that just kind of like last as long as you can before?
No, if they're good enough, they'll kill you.
enough
to kill them, and then they'll destroy your node and kill you.
Oh, okay, that's really cool.
Plus, it also resets their health to 100. The moment you destroy their node, their health gets reset to 100 to give them a fighting chance.
Okay.
And I guess if they're good enough, as I said, they'll be able to take out your node and maybe win. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a interesting, like a cool like comeback like scenario. Like
Yeah.
I can really see like interesting, like really intense gameplay coming out of that. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I was thinking of ending the game when the node was destroyed, but I was like, wait, that's not interesting to do.
Yeah, because it sounds like it won't happen very often, but it'll be awesome
Exactly.
the few times it does.
Exactly, that's the design philosophy for our game. In the sense of, we know a lot of stuff that we're coding won't necessarily happen a lot, but we need them to happen we need those moments to happen. You know, every guy that had this really fun multiplayer game had that one moment that he'll never forget. And that's what we're trying to do with Root, create those moments so everyone had their own little event to remember pretty much. It'll never be the same for everybody, but everyone will have it.
That's pretty awesome. Alright, let's see. Let's move on to another question. Let's see. So when you first started Roots, did you have like an original vision? And if so, like how has the game changed since that vision?
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh my God, this is a horrible question to ask. Let's just say Root started. Wow.
What was it? This mouse controlled thing?
Roots was actually a point and click game. You were basically.
Really?
I was laying on my bed and I was saying that I wanted to play a competitive game, right? But I was like too lazy to pick up some shooter that I had to like get into. It was like one of those moments where you're like back from work, you're tired as hell, you want to have some fun, but you know if you take up Call of Duty, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. So I was like, I'll make a game that can be competitive but doesn't require that much effort to play. And I started making this game, this top-down game where you like click to move and stuff. And it was going pretty well. But then someone was thinking and they were like, dude, this would be a lot more fun if I could control my character directly. So then I added that, right? And slowly started adding more, oh my God, yo. Slowly started adding more features. And it slowly started into this, but we really had no intention of making it this complex a game in the long run, but it worked out nicely as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It changed so much since the beginning.
It actually started even before that, because this is actually our first Unity game. And we're basically saying, okay, well, this is our first Unity game. We need to get familiar with the engine. So we said to ourselves, let's make a small game to get to understand things, how this engine works, what it requires. And then we started making this game. And then came this idea of this point-and-click game. And eventually we decided to get a little more complex and get it a little more fun. And it evolved to this eventually.
Okay, cool. You also have a really nice UI in this game. Did you guys design that?
That's funny because
that's funny.
If anything, we got some very nasty comments on the UI.
Really? This UI is great.
Well, the functionality is fine, right? And especially the voting that keeps you out of boring servers that are just set to the same preset over and over again. That all the players just pick whatever they want to play and the server plays what was voted on. But everyone said that this design of the buttons, of how it looks, was horrible. And I must say that we even agreed with that, and we're now working on a new one.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I mean, I personally wouldn't redo it, but since it's not really all about me.
Yeah, personally, I think this. Alright, we just had another crash. You know, the game is in alpha, but we are back now. So, what were the last thing we were talking about was the UI. But I think we pretty much covered the UI. Just the fact that... So, I mean, like, well, I guess that leads me into my next question. Where did you guys learn all the skills that you used to create this game?
Well...
Michael should go first.
Sure, I don't know. Basically, I don't know, you know, I guess we're just very bored people, so... I don't know, let me tell you my story. How I got into this whole 3D thing, whatever. Was 2000, year 2000, where my sister, by profession, she's a 2D designer, Photoshop and stuff, for magazines and whatever. And one day, and in 2000, they came to visit us, and they brought this CD with 3ds Max on it. And they were like, yeah, watch this, is a cool 3D program or whatever, you know, that they use in the industry to make movies and games. And I was like, yeah, wow, that's nice. And I don't know, I started like playing with it. I was a little kid, I don't know. I started playing, making spheres and boxes, and it was really cool to me. And then I kind of left it, obviously, because I was a small kid. It wasn't interesting enough for me. I couldn't just sit down and concentrate on actually learning this thing. But I don't know, then it just kept coming back to me. Every time I somehow got the opportunity to sit down and start learning 3D, I just kept getting the opportunities to sit down at it, to get
And then he
motivated
met.
by things I
And
saw
then he
on
met
the
me.
internet. No, actually, that was a lot before I made Team.
Yeah.
I started making, tutorials, little things, I don't know, lurking on forums and seeing what other people do and getting comments on my stuff. And basically, I kind of decided that, okay, this is my hobby. I'll do that. I'll try to get as best I can at it.
Okay, so you're completely self-taught then.
Yeah,
Wow,
we're
that's
both self-taught.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm from Jamaica, and I can't tell you of any soul, like a single soul that I know that does anything related to this. Like game design, people look at you like, what the hell, dude? Pick something believable, you know?
Yeah.
Like every time I tell someone that I'm a game designer, like I get that raised eyebrow, like, nah.
Huh.
You know, but basically what happened was I was in high school and this guy had this CD and he had this game on it called Mugen or something, which was actually a fighting game creator for PC. And I got my hands on it and I was slowly tweaking the fighters and adding new
Killing
characters
spree.
and so on and so forth. And let's see, yeah, I slowly started to make my own little fighting game, adding characters, modding it and so on. But then I needed more power than that, and I found 3D Rad, which was like my first 3D engine, with like 640 by 480 maximum resolution.
Oh, wow.
You know, like typing in like this black and white screen and so on and so forth. And you know, it was, to me, that was like the most powerful thing ever, you know.
Wow.
So I was like, I didn't know scripting at the time. I was just copying and pasting bits of code together. I always went through the manuals and always copied and pasted bits of code. I wanted a tank game. I would just look at other bits, then tie them together. Until what happened was I stopped playing commercial games, and like every time my friends were coming over, I would try making a game for us to play. I would like ask my friend, what type of game do you want to play? And they tell me, and then I would just try my best to make something fun. And then I switched to Game Studio after that, because obviously 640 by 480 resolution isn't going to do anything. So I switched to Game Studio and I eventually started playing with that. And again, still working on my coding skills and whatever. And I made this third-person shooter that kind of actually got some views, you know. And I guess that's where Michael saw that video and decided that he would message me and so on and so forth. So it's really coming from there. And I was with Game Studio for like pretty much, I don't know, 3 years possibly, working on several projects and so on. But it wasn't really working out because of certain limitations. And we decided to switch to Unity in March of this year?
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
8 months or something like that.
So everything from multiplayer programming to gameplay to, I pretty much had to teach myself in some regard.
Dang. So how many years total do you think you've been like messing around with programming?
Programming itself would be, I don't know, I said about 4 years for art programming. Before that though, in high school, I always had my book and I was like always writing down things that I thought would make a game epic.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's just like working
Yeah,
on game design before you even worked on programming.
Exactly. I had no idea what it took to make a game. I was just writing down epic stuff that now that I think about it, I would never be able to make them. But back then was like what I found fun.
Yeah.
And pretty much that was, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you guys just met each other over the internet? Like, have you ever even met in person?
Nope.
Mm.
Too much far apart.
Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. You're able to create such a big, elaborate project, like, without even ever meeting face to face.
Yeah, well, we were working for a long time. We actually started when it was the ICQ era. And we were chatting over the ICQ and making stuff. And then, it's actually a funny story, I must say it. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. So we were chatting over ICQ and making our stuff and whatever. And then one day some dude came and was kind of trying to help us to make games. But in the end, it didn't work out. He kind of quit the project, but he kept on always nagging us and messaging us, and he had this very bad English. No, he was a cool dude and everything, but he had very bad English. He was messaging us and bothering us, so we just stopped using Skype, ICQ, completely, and moved into Messenger. And after that, we just decided that we should try voice over IP to quicken up our pipeline of game design, because typing everything would take years. So we just found Skype. Well, didn't really find Skype, but just decided to start using it. And ever since then, we're here.
Wow. So, say again, how many years has Roots been like being worked on?
Roots? 7 months.
Oh, only 7 months?
Yeah.
Wow. Got a lot done in 7 months.
Well, I don't know. Some would say otherwise, but I guess, yeah, it's decent.
I guess for two guys, I'll be proud of that one.
Yeah, for two self-taught guys in 7 months to create an entire, like, what seems to be a fully functional multiplayer game with, like, lots of different, like, leveling and, like...
Yeah, but it's still lacking a lot of our ideas and concepts that we are working on and will be added eventually.
Yeah, Roots is basically the foundation for all our dream projects, in the sense of the weapon system and the player customization and all of that. This is really a testing ground and a proving ground for that. If we get successful with this, then we have a platform where we can actually try out games that we really want to work on and so on.
Okay, cool. So, what are your future plans? Like, where are you gonna take Roots from here?
Well, of course, we're gonna add a lot of features that we have in mind, but we still aren't able to add because we need to keep testing what we have, and obviously we need to start pushing this project forward even before it's completely finalized. That's how most game developers work.
Yeah.
With alphas and betas and all that sort of shit, to get feedback and get opinions and ideas from the audience that's gonna play the game. So what we are gonna do in the future are a lot of features. For instance, we actually had vehicles in this in the game, but they weren't really balanced and they weren't fine-tuned to work exactly how we wanted, so we put them in the side for now. Because we didn't want to create more bugs with just undone stuff, and obviously it requires bigger maps and fitting environments to use that obviously are gonna be done eventually.
Two things I know I want to add is I know I definitely want to add a survival mode, which is just it's already network enabled, so we want to have mode where it's like you versus AI with several friends. No.
Oh, okay.
So that's something I'm actually looking forward to, but it's a process.
Like human AI or like monster or like zombie AI or?
Yeah, like both actually.
Slaughter.
We are limited by the fact that we are still using the free version of Unity.
Oh, you are using the free version?
Yes,
well,
this is the free
we
version.
are broke pocket people.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah, this is the free version. It's yeah, we always get that, but it's a free version, and it's what happens is I can do a lot of stuff using it, but I do plan to get pro sometimes, and I would really hate to like say get AI working in free version and then have to redo it because there is something more suitable for it in the pro version.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a mix between what I want to do, what I think I should do, and stuff like that. But we really want to add a survival mode because I think it will be epic, especially in top-down games that are kind of known for that horde mode thing where you're killing waves of enemies.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
But I want to do a twist on it and show that our top-down survival mode wouldn't necessarily be about you and 500 zombies or something, but how fun we could actually let you feel fighting as a single enemy based on the plan that want to implement.
Yeah, that would be really cool. How are you planning on distributing Roots? Like, are you planning on making it like a pay once and you get the whole game, or free to play, or some kind of hybrid, or is that still up in
Definitely
the
pay
air?
once. Definitely pay once and get the whole game. As much as free to play seems to be the way of the industry now.
Yeah.
It is somewhat limited in some senses because we never ever want to add anything related to gameplay that you have to pay for. I mean, a lot of people don't consider it. A lot of people don't consider it to be unbalanced when they might see a different gun and so on and so forth. But what happens is everything that changes gameplay, everything that says adds to gameplay should be available to everybody. That's how I see it personally. I mean, it's really kind of subjective whether somebody thinks certain weapons are balanced, you know, because one person might say, hey, this gun is inaccurate, so that makes it balanced. But give it to a player that can actually use it and it's like really overpowered to him. And we don't really want to go the whole cosmetic route. We don't see the cosmetic route in a top-down shooter as being anything that would give us that much revenue, basically.
Yeah.
So I think, personally, I think we should stick to the pay once, and you know, you continue playing. You get free updates, you get free maps, and so on as they come along. Because a multiplayer game is really all about the service that is actually provided after release, those maps, those weapons, and stuff like that.
Killing spree.
Yeah.
But also, alongside that, I also want to do a free version. So I want to do a free version that can connect with the paid for version at any time, but is limited to, say, I don't know, like 2 maps.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Alright, let's continue. My next question, what was the biggest hurdle that you had to get over to get this game working and playing, and like what was the hardest, like, biggest thing that you had to get over in order to get to the game where it is now?
Wow. What would that be?
I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe switching engines.
Oh yeah. Having to learn the Unity engine?
Not necessarily. It
No,
was-
actually, learning to use the Unity engine was actually the easiest part of this. I think the biggest concern or the biggest problem for me right now would be, you know, finding all the bugs and fixing them.
Oh yeah.
Adding more features and then fixing bugs that you previously fixed, because the game is more complex than it seems. A grenade just doesn't explode or so on. A grenade interacts with so many other objects. So when I add a new weapons, sometimes I have to review like all the equipment and items again just to make sure that it doesn't break them in some way, because all the objects interplay in some way. So testing this in a multiplayer game, it's a bit tricky. Because a lot of times I might test something that works fine for 1 player or 2 players, and then 2 more people join and it's like completely broken, and I'm like, oh my god.
That sounds like a huge headache.
Killing
Oh,
spree.
It is, but it's, I guess that's why a lot of indies don't necessarily undertake networking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a huge hurdle to get over. Have you ever made any games that were just single player games before you went on to make this one?
Well, the TPS was the first one.
The first game I ever made, I guess, once I learned networking, it was no single player games from then.
Okay. How many games have you made?
Well, how many games have I made and how many games I've actually sold or released? That's a different question. I've made quite a few proof of concepts, entered into contests and so on. Yeah, it might be about 6 or 7 projects in a sense. I've made we're working on a first-person shooter,
Oh, yeah.
and
And a third-person shooter and a
Third-person shooter.
GoldenEye remake. What else?
there was the Wrath of Angel, which is
Oh yeah, that.
what you would say, a God of War like
Bioshock thing.
First person shooter that we're working on.
Oh, yeah.
But the engine was really limiting, so we ended up having to leave a lot of those behind. But we really wish to get back to them as soon as Roots works out for us, or we get more support, basically.
Okay. Did you have any like sort of blogs or anything that people could go to if they wanted to check them out?
Yeah, I would definitely have to.
We don't necessarily have
tell
official blogs, like just like actual blogs, but we do put updates on YouTube and Facebook and I don't know, IndieDB, all sorts of platforms like that. But not, I guess we didn't really have a blog.
Okay. We'll put the links in the description below.
All right, cool.
No problem.
I'll just get those links from you after the video. Let's see. What is my next question? I'm just reading over because I asked like all of these. Do you guys continue in video game development as a full-time career eventually?
Hopefully.
That's the hope.
Exactly. That's a really big hope.
So you guys are really learning on continuing, or really hoping to
Suicide.
continue to teach yourselves until you can make money off of it, basically.
Definitely,
Yep.
that's the dream, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the dream.
I think it's a dream of every game designer, over every indie game designer at least.
Yeah. Alright, well I guess continuing on with that, what advice would you give a beginning game designer, somebody who just woke up one morning and was like, you know what, I want to try getting into video game design, or maybe they've always wanted to be a video game designer when they grow up, like, what advice would you give them?
Well, I mean, a lot of people would say start small, but I kind of have a different approach. If you have a dream project, pretty much, break it down into the smallest possible elements that you can. If there's a simple system as much as the ability to pick up a weapon, make a game where you handle picking up items and so on and so forth. And basically, when you have this big project that you have broken down into so many small elements, you'd be surprised when you do switch that bigger project, you'll realize how much these small stuff that you've worked on really contribute to the final product. It really doesn't, I guess people would probably argue with the point that I would say that it really doesn't help much if you say work on small projects that really don't teach you anything relative to the project that you want to be working on in the long run.
Okay.
That's
a good
pretty
piece of
much what I
advice.
would say.
Yeah, that's a really good, interesting piece of advice. I haven't heard that one before. Michael, what advice could you give on the artistic side of video game design?
What kind of advice would I give in an artistic way? What would I give an advice is, first of all, actually in contradiction to what Tyre said, in the artistic kind of way, you would want to try keeping things to a minimum at first, which means creating levels from blocks, for instance. What is a block? Is a simple element, for, let's say a wall or a piece of floor or something like that, or a fence, which then you can just put in many different places in the level and use in many different scenarios. And when you have enough of those blocks, you can actually create full levels without really working on like huge stuff, just single big mesh. That's in game design maybe. Overall in 3D, I would say do a lot of tutorials, because tutorials teach you a lot, like everything really. It just teach you all the tools, all the tips you need, because you can always play with the software, but I see it like this: you do a few tutorials, you get some tools, you get some new knowledge from them, and then you start playing with what you learned. Because just messing around with the software is it's really hard to actually upgrade your level with that. So do a lot of tutorials. There are a bunch of them on the internet for any kind of software, and you'll get better eventually. Obviously, practice, because that's really the key.
Yeah, it's just like learning how to, like, say, draw or paint. It's just
Yeah,
on a
exactly.
computer.
You just get the skill, get the tool, understand the technique, and then you start practicing it. Practice until you master it, and you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right, cool. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up all of the questions that I want to ask you guys. Oh wait, no, do you guys have a predicted launch date for Roots? I know usually indie teams rarely do.
Yeah, it's actually a flaw. I think it's a flaw because when you don't kind of constrain yourself in some sort of a schedule, you kind of usually get lost in time, and you're like, well, tomorrow I'll do this time I'll do that, next week I'll do this, and you keep on doing stuff without really looking forward to actually wrapping this thing somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess that would fall under another piece of advice. It's like always set a deadline, even if it's just to challenge yourself. Just say, by the weekend I'll have this working, and you'll be surprised that most times you'll probably meet it, as opposed to working on. If you didn't set that deadline, you'll be working on it for like 3 weeks. So basically, release date, we're in the process of slowly trying to release it to the public now. We're trying to control it. We're still trying to control it because we're still making a lot of big changes. But we're slowly trying. It's on Greenlight at the moment, and we're talking to the store and so on. So we're slowly trying to bring it to the public. So really and truly, it is available to play for most people now. So you could say that it's pretty much somewhat released. But officially, I'm thinking probably early next year. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be released though, for the amount of content that we have in already.
Yeah, there's lots of content, and I mean, I can definitely see where like if this were filled up with, you know, just a 8-on-8 or something like that, like that would be. Oh, I guess that brings me to a question I never think I asked. Like, what number of players are you looking at in the games?
Well, at the moment it's 10, right? It's kept at 10, I think, because we only have 2 maps right now. We're working on the next maps at the moment, and the 2 maps we have are relatively small. But as said, when we talked about the vehicles, we are planning to make bigger maps, and we also need to think how we're gonna get that working with this whole top-down thing, because a big map is might be problematic with a top-down game, because you still don't see to a distance. You just see what you see all the time, see the same area. So we need to work that out somehow. And yeah, we plan to make bigger maps with vehicles probably. And I would assume that maybe on these maps we'll increase the player cap to a bigger number so that players won't just wander off all by themselves trying to find other players.
Okay, cool. Alright, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think we covered everything that has to do with Roots.
Yep, pretty much. Well, maybe besides one thing, what about today we were actually talking about maybe changing the name of the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were kind of discussing that, going over that, because well, like we explained, the name really comes from kind of our vision of what we would like the game to achieve, or why are we making it, but not really talking about the game itself or anything. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the game. And it's also clashing with a lot of things already available, a lot of products that named Roots, like films and songs and everything.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so we're kind of thinking that maybe we should change it, maybe tie it more to the kind of game, to the story. We're also simultaneously trying to think of to kind of come up with a very simplistic story for the game, for background, for like, why are you here? Why are these space dudes shooting each other?
Yeah.
Or whatever dudes, you know? So yeah, we're kind of iterating on that, but we still didn't come up with anything solid. So I guess so far it's Roots.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the first time I saw the game, I was expecting it almost to be like a game about like slavery in America or something like that.
See, exactly.
Exactly. That's
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
But
And
no, I really
it's
like.
not necessarily. I mean, yes, it is good when you explain it to somebody behind the name,
Yeah.
and you say, okay, this is the reason for the name. But for anybody that doesn't know it or doesn't care to actually find out why, the initial impression isn't necessarily what we want.
Yeah. I can see where you got a little bit of a problem there.
Exactly.
But yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to implement a story, even if it's just like, I don't know.
No, we do have a base story for the game, so it's not
Okay.
like it's completely random.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, and realize you haven't stepped into the teleporter.
I think I went into it at one point. Yeah,
Oh, okay. And then you have this lift that carried you to the top.
that's pretty cool. Oh, I haven't jumped into this thing. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So yeah. Well, I guess I don't know. Are there any other last minute points that we should go over before we wrap the interview up?
Well, personally, I don't know. I really don't know anything, Tyre.
No, I think we covered most of it. As I said, the other stuff would tie into a lot of gameplay stuff, but we will be releasing a lot of videos showcasing the game in full detail. So if anyone's really interested, they can always look at it there.
Yep. Link in the description to the YouTube channel. So, yeah. All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. So this has been a look at Roots, which might be changed the name in the future, but you're probably gonna keep the name teamINOV.
Yeah.
Okay, so they will be going by the name of teamINOV. And yep, this has been the interview with Tyre and Michael, teamINOV. So I guess thanks for being on the show.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having
interviewing
us.
us.
All right. I guess have a good day now. All right, and keep making games.
Thanks, man.
Good luck with your channel also.
Yep.
Thank you.